blue light shining in my eyes. Right, so yes, I'm Jan Grant, and I'm from Leicester Time to Change, which is a local group and a voluntary self-help group. Now, Time to Change itself is a national group set up down in London, funded by Department of Health, Mind, Bereavement, Mental Illness, and more recently they've got some funding from the lotteries and Comic Relief. But we don't have any of that funding at all. No. We have absolutely no funding. So should anybody want to put a £5 note or £10 note in our letter donations box, which is at the back on our table, we'd be very grateful. But I'll come back to that later. Why Time to Change? But the full title, I suppose, is Time to Talk, is Time to Change. And as Ranjit said, took the words right out of my speech, the area of mental health is really, really beset with stigma and discrimination and prejudice. And it actually affects 1 in 4 people in every year. And of those, Time to Change did a survey, and 9 out of 10 people said that they had suffered from stigma resulting from having poor mental health at some point. It can affect you if you have a job, within your job, in that other people that you work with may see you differently, may consider that you're slightly dangerous, or perhaps not going to work as well as they are. And often people who have depression may find that if they go back to work having had severe depression, the attitudes of people around them make it much, much harder for them to cope with going back to work. Similarly, as Randy said, friends and family. And the classic example, if you've broken your leg, lots of people will be there to help you, really willing to help you. But if you say, oh, I'm having some difficulties with my mental health at the moment, people just don't know how to cope. And often it's fear that they have, that they don't want to do the wrong thing, so they'd rather do nothing at all. And really what people would benefit from is being treated just like a friend, just like they were before. Ring them up, send them a text, send them an email, pop in for a cup of tea, quick chat. How you doing? Doesn't have to be a talk about how's your mental health doing. Tell me all the details, tell me the gory details. No, just chat about ordinary things, but actually making people feel that you really do still want to be in touch with them and support them through whatever they're going through. So, Time to Change was set up originally, it's God forbid, it's a David Cameron idea, a government idea. No health without mental health, they said. And to be fair, they did put some money behind it. They've got Department of Health to put some funding into groups like Time to Change to try and work to reduce stigma. So that's a very positive thing to have come out of that. But also, it's very much about taking things out and talking to ordinary people. And they've got a website, you can pick up our literature, it's all their literature. We get it for free. So help yourself to literature, but it's got our details on it as well. But they have what's called a sort of pop-up village, which popped up from London to Leicester, to the African Caribbean Carnival 2.5 years ago. And beforehand, some of us who were interested went through some training and became champions for Time to Change. I'm a fully qualified champion, which means I can talk. Talk very well. And we got T-shirts as well, free T-shirts. And they had lots of different things, village cinema with a DVD on a loop about talking about mental health, and a village tea area and a village post office, and you could get these postcards, which we've got some of, and put them in a post box and then post them to your friends. And there were loads of some t-shirts hanging around, and our role was just to talk to people and say, oh, you know, how did you feel about that? Does it, you know, is there any, did it affect you personally? Are there people that you know through work or from in your family or people who live close to you who that makes you think of? And we just had to tally every conversation we had. And that was all I had to do, because often you get money from groups and it's got strings tied to it. They just had to tally how many conversations people had and send in a sort of monthly tally to the Department of Health, and they said, oh, good, all these conversations, everything's getting better. And to be fair, things are getting slightly better. I mean, you're all sitting here today listening to me, so that's, gosh, how many can I think I can get 30 out of this. But after that, there wasn't really anything happening in Leicester. And myself and a couple of other people who'd been involved as champions thought, well, we'll set up our own group. So we set up our own group, which we called Leicester Time to Change, or confusing Leicestershire Time to Change. We alternate the names. And we meet once a month down in town in the Exchange Bar opposite the Curve Theatre. We meet in a separate little side room, so there isn't a bar there, because some of our members don't actually want to be in a pub serving alcohol. But you can buy beer and bring it in, or you can get lovely hot chocolate or tea and coffee or whatever. And the big advantage is that it's free. It's a free venue. So we don't have to pay any money to be there, and people don't have to pay to come along at all, because often a lot of organisations there's a slight charge to cover costs and rent and so on. And we're all there voluntarily. We're there because we've joined, and we all want to reduce the stigma and the prejudice that is associated with mental health. So some of us have been mental health service users and have suffered poor mental health. I'm a bit dubious about saying mental health problems, because it sounds like a problem that's in some way your fault and you can do something about. But actually, we all have mental health, and often it can be poor, and for some people it never is. Some people have wonderful mental health, and often people can have times of poor mental health and can get quite better, but then might relapse over and over. And for some people it can be so poor that it actually is very, very difficult, and they rarely find it possible to say, yeah, my mental health is pretty good at the moment. So there's a huge, wide range of issues to do with mental health. But the one thing that affects everybody is that once you've got that label and you stick it on, not that anyone can see it, but it's stuck on you. Along with that goes you want to associate with people like that. Don't feel a bit uncomfortable with people who are like that. And there is a lot of media, probably media, what's the word, generated fear of people who have a mental health diagnosis, say schizophrenia, psychosis, that's associated with being dangerous, and maybe not so much in this country, perhaps more in the States. if there is an unfortunate incident and somebody gets a gun and goes out and shoots some people, there's always, oh, well, they must have been mentally ill, they must have had psychosis, they must have, you know, people like to be able to pigeonhole others, and particularly to say, yes, that's the reason why people do unacceptable things. And in fact, very, very rarely, just as much as amongst ordinary people, ordinary, yes, that's right, ordinary people, but no, having a mental problem does not increase the likelihood that you're going to go out and commit mayhem. It simply doesn't. But unfortunately, that's the general perception. So what we do is that we try to go out and talk to people, members of the general public, and try and change that attitude. Sometimes by talking about our own personal experiences of poor mental health, if we have them, or people that we know, because some of our members are carers or have friends who have had poor mental health, or some people are just interested in trying to reduce the amount of stigma around mental health. So we look for opportunities anyway to go out and talk at events like this, at Caribbean Carnival, Leicester Pride. Once a year there's a National Time to Change, have organised for the last couple of years a Time to Talk Day, provided us with nice little tea bags in sort of sealed sachets, saying, have to talk, give them that time, have a conversation with somebody. And last year we were able to have that at the Radio Leicester foyer, which was a good venue, but not many people came. So we're looking for a better venue this year. I'm in discussion with the Haymarket Centre, because I don't like being outside in February. But they want us to have £5 million worth of public liability insurance. That's where our little donation box is sitting. Because I worked out that if there were a few people here, like, I don't know, maybe 5 rich solicitors who opened their wallets and took out. So this is being videoed, it will be on our website. Took out a note of some kind and folded it up and stuck it in our little box. All our problems would be solved. We could take out our £5 million public liability insurance and have our event in the Haymarket and do loads and loads and loads of good at helping to encourage people in Leicester to not have so much stigma about mental health. So I think I've wittered on long enough. Enough wittering. Thank you.